September 11th, 2001, a day of remembrance and reflection. We mark 23 years honoring those we lost and those who made sacrifices we'll never forget. Now, special coverage, Remembering 9/11.
And a live look over Lower Manhattan as we take time to remember and pay tribute to the victims of the September 11th attacks. It's become tradition for those to pay their respects across the tri-state area as some of our local politicians and other luminaries and family members make their way to Lower Manhattan. Good morning to you. I'm Chris Raggi.
I'm Mary Calvi, and you're watching our special coverage honoring the victims of the September 11th attacks. Today marks 23 years since the terror attacks changed New York City and the country forever. This morning, we will honor the thousands of lives lost. Nearly 3,000 people were killed, including two of our own here at CBS, Isaias Rivera and Robert Pattison. Isaias was a CBS 2 engineer who worked at our transmitter inside the towers. Robert was also a broadcast engineer who worked there. Both men were on the 110th floor of One World Trade at the time of the attacks. We at CBS 2 send our heartfelt condolences to the Rivera and Pattison families. When the ceremony begins, the honor guard will enter and the national anthem will be performed. Once underway, the names of every victim will be read by family members. There will be 6 moments of silence to signify when the plane struck and when the towers fell. After the first moment of silence, church bells will ring across the city. The observance continues this evening at dusk when the tribute and light will rise from Lower Manhattan and last until dawn. Last week, firefighters paid tribute to their own who died well after the towers fell on 9/11 by adding the names of 32 men to the FDNY World Trade Center Memorial Wall. Tearful family members left behind white roses to honor firefighters who died of illnesses related to their work in the rescue and recovery efforts 23 years ago. More than 360 members of the FDNY have died from 9/11 related illnesses. As always, the city's focus will be in Lower Manhattan at the place where the Twin Towers fell. We have live coverage beginning with Alice Gaynor in Lower Manhattan. Alice.
Weather-wise, it's a nice morning, just like it was 23 years ago. In so many ways, it feels like this just happened. Behind me, of course, the reflecting pools, and there are families who have been walking around placing flowers, placing American flags by the names of their loved ones. You know, we've recently spoken with children who lost a parent on 9/11 or from a 9/11 related cancer, and it's just so amazing how so many of them have taken such an exceptional path in life. My colleague, Dick Brennan, spent time with Tuesday's children.
It's now been 23 years where the towers once stood, a gleaming memorial standing in proud defiance in a city that came back, fought back, and rebuilt. A monument to those who showed uncommon bravery, joining a pantheon of American heroes who gave the last full measure of devotion. People like firefighter Thomas O'Hagan, who was among the first to arrive on the scene that day.
My father was a firefighter all over. He had just been promoted to lieutenant.
O'Hagan's son Patrick was only a year and a half on September 11, 2001, too young to comprehend what happened to his hero dad. But now he understands the sacrifice that so many made.
It's not an easy thing, like waking up and knowing I have to run into a burning building. So obviously he was a hero on that day, but these guys do it like every day. So it's definitely something very special to hold.
Everyone was like, your dad was the funniest person. He was always the first person on the dance floor, the first person on the buffet line, just a really, really good person. And on September 11th, my dad passed away while working at Cantor Fitzgerald's.
Shay Mahan was also just a toddler when she lost her father, Tom, and it wasn't always easy growing up in the shadow of a national tragedy.
It's kind of weird because when I was younger, I had a lot of, like, I wouldn't say anger, but kind of like, why me, why my family? But now that I've kind of gotten older, I have a lot of gratitude.
And now Shay and Patrick have taken their gratitude and decided to pay it forward. They do work for Tuesday's Children, which has always supported 9/11 families. Now the organization is also fundraising for military families.
So many people have helped us throughout our lives, and myself, and so it's a great way to sort of just give back.
A way to try to ease the pain of people who've suffered in service of their nation.
What we really aim to do is provide a lifetime of healing for these people.
As we mark the 23rd year since 9/11, two 24-year-olds now pick up where their hero parents left off.
You always have someone to lean on in a weird way. My dad might not be here with me, but he's always going to be there with me. And I think in a unique way, I'm very special to have that because it gives me purpose. And it makes me just very happy to do what I do.
You just realize how many good people there are in this world. And continuing with some of the other children we spoke with, I recently spoke with first responders following in the footsteps of their first responder parent who died on 9/11 or from a 9/11 related cancer. The other day, I had the privilege of speaking with 28-year-old NYPD officer Vincent Cavatolo. He proudly wears his father's patrol shield. Joseph Cavatolo died in 2013 of a 9/11 related cancer. He had been with the department for 23 years. Vincent, who was 5 years old on 9/11, says his father was off from work that day, but spent weeks helping at Ground Zero.
He always felt guilty. He thought he should have been there. It was always an upsetting day for him. Since I was 5 years old, I wanted to follow my father's footsteps. He was my hero. You know, seeing him in that uniform, it just made me want to be a police officer even more. I would have loved for him to see me on this job. That's all I wanted, was to be on the same job as my father. But I always crack a smile knowing that, you know, he was very well respected and important enough to be on that wall.
I also spoke with Kate Levy, who lost her father, Joseph, a 9/11 FDNY lieutenant, rather. And she says being here just brings her so much comfort. She actually helped found an organization that ensures we never forget, especially those who were not yet born.
Our mission is to be able to educate the next generation and spread awareness of just what, and tell the stories of what 9/11 was and what it means. And I think that there is something that's really important, that we continue on the legacy of all those men and women, and not only those men and women who passed away, but also who were down here, who were there and just so instrumental in the rescue and the recovery, and then also to honor those who are still living with the effects from 9/11 as well.
So important that we never forget. Again, weather-wise, a beautiful morning here as we await the reading of the names. So many families placing flowers, placing those flags. We hear bagpipes in the distance. Chris and Mary, we'll send it back to you.
Alice Gaynor, such heartbreaking stories and such inspirational stories, all the same. We've been seeing those beautiful blue skies behind you, and just the same as they were on that fateful day. Today we are expecting some warm weather as well. And let's turn things over to John Elliott now with details in the First Alert forecast. John.
Remember those skies? It was just such a beautiful day. And any way you look at the skyline, every time I do, I think of that day. We do have some high clouds out there, 62. There is variety around the area if you are going to ceremonies around the area. Again, we still have numbers in the 50s, 60 Staten Island at 60 in the Bronx, 64 around Ground Zero. And we are going to see beautiful skies this afternoon. Morning variety with the 50s and 60s for ceremonies as we work our way through the day and into the lunchtime period. We are going to see the low to mid 70s, and then over the next few days we continue to see warmer conditions. Your day today, though, weather-wise, worry-free, even though hearts will be heavy all around the area. Back to you guys.
John, thank you. As we pause to remember the victims, we also reflect on the sacrifices made by first responders who raced to the towers to save lives.
Christina Fan is live in Lower Manhattan with more. Christina.
Mary and Chris, every year on September 11th, the focus of the nation turns to Lower Manhattan as New York City remembers its darkest day. And unfortunately, as decades pass, the death toll only continues to rise. 9/11 related illnesses have now killed more members of the FDNY than the attack itself. 343 members of the FDNY died on 9/11, and in the years since, 370 have died of World Trade Center related illnesses. The somber milestone reached during an ongoing struggle for more federal funding. First responders have been pleading for support to pass the Health Funding Correction Act to secure coverage of firefighters' medical costs before 9/11 becomes a more distant memory. We spoke with Commissioner Robert Tucker about this moments ago.
That's a fight going on in Washington. I met with members of the House Homeland Security Committee this week. It seems like we have a lot of support here in New York from our elected officials to get that fully funded.
The NYPD also lost 23 members on the day of the attack. Department leaders say we've learned valuable lessons since then, including how to communicate more effectively with federal and international partners to react quickly to intelligence. We asked about security protocols in place today for this morning's ceremony.
Well, we have heavy security down here today at the site and throughout the city, just for the fact that it's 9/11 and just be prepared. But quite frankly, we're prepared every day. We're always at the highest alert, whether we say it or not. New York City is the mecca of the world. Anything happens in this world, it comes back to New York City. So the department is ready, we're ready, and we'll keep today safe like we do every day.
And some of the moments from 9/11 that really inspire us the most are stories of heroism and bravery that led many ordinary people to also become more selfless and adopt a life of public service. That was the case with one of the deputy commissioners of the NYPD, whom we spoke with earlier this morning. He told us he used to be a math teacher, and the images of seeing the Twin Towers collapse and crumble inspired him to join the NYPD. Reporting live from Lower Manhattan, Christina Fan, CBS News New York.
Christina, thank you. And a live look now at the reflection ceremony in Jersey City. Friends, family, and the community coming together to remember the 37 residents the city lost.
Christine Sloan joins us now with more.
More than 700 people from New Jersey died during the September 11th terror attacks. 39 of them from Jersey City. At 8:30 this morning, Jersey City will hold its remembrance ceremony here on the waterfront in the backdrop of the Manhattan skyline. All 39 names will be read out loud. Mayor Stephen Fulop says he wants to make sure future generations never forget what happened on September 11th.
The crowd that comes out is smaller every single year, and it gets further and further from people's mind. Younger people don't have that same close proximity to it because a lot of the younger people, even some working for the city, weren't alive. There's no question that we see smaller and smaller crowds. It changed me to pivot away from a career in finance to enlisting in the Marine Corps and then subsequently being deployed out to Iraq. It's something that we're going to try to raise up.
The mayor enlisted in the Marine Corps right after the terror attacks. This area in Jersey City became one of the largest triage centers in New Jersey on that awful day. In Jersey City, Christine Sloan, CBS News, New York.
And a live look at empty sky at Liberty State Park. It's the official memorial in New Jersey to the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center. Situated on a berm, the parallel walls are engraved with the names of the victims and are positioned to face the former World Trade Center site.
And to Point Lookout, Long Island now, nearly 500 Long Islanders lost their lives on 9/11. They return to this beach every year for a ceremony at sunrise to honor the lives lost. The memorial includes a remembrance wall for loved ones to write messages. CBS News' Jennifer McLogan has more.
Good morning. It was 23 years ago, dozens of us gathered here at Point Lookout, Long Island, watching in the distance as plumes of smoke rose from what then became known as Ground Zero. And since then, hundreds return every year for an annual pilgrimage here, paying respect. Supervisor Clavin, your town proudly sponsors, and numbers never dwindle each year.
We've been having the ceremony on this beach, and it gets bigger and bigger every single year. People love to come down here to reflect, to be together, and to remember.
I lost my husband, Ronnie, on 9/11. It's tough. He was a member of Squad 288 in Maspeth, Queens. His firehouse lost the most men in the entire department.
It's a morning of heartbreaking speeches sprinkled with messages of hope and resilience from families whose loved ones died that day and since that day. First responders felled by cancers, contracted after inhaling noxious dust during early days of rescue and months of cleanup. Plenty of tissues to wipe eyes. White carnations will be dropped in the surf. Nearly 500 Long Islanders died on that day 23 years ago. Now, growing numbers of names are being etched in the town's 9/11 memorial wall. We are at Point Lookout, Long Island. I'm Jennifer McLogan, CBS News, New York.
A memorial also expected to take place in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, where 40 passengers and crew members aboard United Airlines Flight 93 died. It is believed that the hijackers crashed the plane after the passengers and crew attempted to retake control of the flight deck.
A memorial is also taking place at the Pentagon. This is a live look ahead of the ceremony in Washington at 9:37 in the morning. 23 years ago, American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon. 184 lives were lost between those inside the Pentagon and passengers.
And fresh off of last night's presidential debate, Vice President Kamala Harris arrived in New York City early this morning to attend today's 9/11 memorial ceremony alongside President Biden, then head to the Pentagon and then later to Shanksville, Pennsylvania.
We are looking at live pictures, and you just saw there former President Trump and Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance in New York City to mark 9/11. We also saw President Biden as well as Vice President Kamala Harris, as well as former Mayor Michael Bloomberg. Governor Hochul is present, and Governor Phil Murphy as well.
Former Mayor de Blasio is also on the scene. As you can see, families and dignitaries there. You see Chuck Schumer along with the Vice President and President Biden and Governor Hochul in the foreground. As you can see, they're lined up. They're ready for the ceremony this morning, which will be beginning any moment.